Yo, what's up, guys? The Insane Game Freak here. This is a very kind of non-traditional video, but it's kind of fitting of the recent news that has come out, which is that a very well-known, I guess I would say primarily like Nintendo gamer YouTuber,
Hmm.
Etica, also known as Desmond, was his real name, has
Hmm.
recently been found deceased.
Hmm.
Our hearts and thoughts go out to his family and friends during this trying time that they're going through.
Hmm.
Apparently, he committed suicide uh, at the age of 29, which is insane. Hits me a little bit too close considering
Yes,
I'm like a year younger than him. So God, but we thought it would be interesting to kind of use. It's I don't want to say it the way I usually say. I say ideas are like a springboard, but in this case, it's like saying his suicide is a springboard, and that sounds kind of dark. Um, Pretty much, I kind of wanted to have this pretty much triggered me wanting to have the conversation about suicide and the YouTube lifestyle and the dangers of social media on top of everything else. Because there's a lot like his situation kind of it's not like it's a new situation, but it's more so like another reminder. Like, I guess for example, do you guys remember back like I want to say back in like late 2000s, like 2000, like when Facebook was really popular, like
hmm
where you
Yep,
kept
I
hearing about
remember.
all those kids getting bullied on social media, and a lot of them were
hmm
committing suicide and on Facebook and whatnot, and it was
hmm
all through all that kind of drama. It's kind of like it's not the same thing, but that was like the precursor to what's going on now. It's like social suicide, except like literally social suicide. Um, I kind of just wanted to have the conversation about it and just kind of just a general discussion. This is very random and off the cuff because there's no real structure I can have this, but I guess the way I'll start it off is like where how in today's society, how has social media kind of impacted the human condition? I guess is how I'll phrase it. And anyone who
Hmm.
has a thought can just kind of jump in here.
The biggest thing that I find about social media is when you have what you cannot distinguish who's your real friends. A lot of the times, like if somebody were to have, like, I don't know, 5,000 Twitter followers, a lot of
hmm
them seem to be trolls. And the real prevention here is to have a solid core group of friends and also your family that you can talk with in the trying times. Like if you're feeling depressed, things are not going your way. And I think the biggest issue in that respect is social media gives a platform for cyberbullying
hmm
and also encouragement to do evil things. Like, I mean, there's probably count. I mean,
Typods.
that's another thing too, but mostly also, um, it's all about people not getting the mental health treatment that they need. There is a huge problem in the world today where people are not or don't have access to mental health facilities that can help them out.
Yeah.
Um, Now, in Etica's case, I think he's been in and out. He had been out in and out of the hospital like maybe 3, 4 times.
Yeah.
I think
And
four
each,
times.
yeah, and in that case, it was probably him that he wanted to get out, but I think it's just that he didn't realize he was destroying himself by not letting his not talking about the situation, keeping it built up inside, and not letting anybody help him. Um, the whole thing is, I kind of compare this situation to a person that has a drug addiction, you know, and you
hmm
have to say the three words, "I need help." But the problem is for a lot of people that those are very difficult words to say, especially in this world where going through mental health treatment is kind of a stigma because they
hmm
kind of see you as like a, all that stuff, and they kind of see it kind of gets that negative connotation. But I think what should happen is this should really drive government agencies and local law enforcement, not local law enforcement, but local lawmakers, to improve access to mental health care, so that we don't have mass hysteria, suicides, and also mass shootings, because the type of mental health treatment also kind of ties in to the mass shooting thing too, because it's the same thing. People snap. It's the same sort of mental illness that people need to understand, that this can be prevented by talking with people that can calm them down or put them in the right direction, and get those thoughts out of their head. So that's basically my point that I wanted to make. As for and I really think that jumping off of the Manhattan Bridge doesn't prove anything. I will say, for the people, I know it's kind of too early to summarize, but I'm going to probably say this a few times during this podcast, and that is, if you're thinking about taking your own life, think about the people that you're going to burden when you do so. There are people, even though you don't think about it and think, oh, nobody cares about you, somebody does care about you. And it may not be maybe your immediate family, but maybe some of your best friends. And who is going to miss you when you're gone? Ask yourself that question. Call the suicide hotlines, get help, get mental health, get the stuff that you need, and just talk for like 5-6 hours with somebody, so that you don't have to do this, because somebody out there cares about you, and you might be surprised, and they are willing to help you.
I just want to add a little bit regarding something that you talked about earlier, regarding how social media and Twitter and all that has just become this big thing that has grown over time. And I've mentioned this multiple times, how this is both a blessing and a curse, because of course the blessing being you'll be able to access the ones you love in a much more, an easier way, basically, because it's difficult for everybody to always be with each other in person. So having access to social media like Facebook or something like this, what we're having right now with Twitter, it's something great. But with that being said, it also can be a curse, and this is something that I saw you brought up earlier ago. But there's something else I wanted to add to it. There have been moments where Etica would tweet out something, and 90% of the responses he would get would just be nothing but memes, nothing but these either dark humor memes or just things that don't necessarily make sense to the message that he's writing down at that time. A video comes up regarding Etica, memes are uploaded there, have nothing to do with it aside from the fact that Etica is just in the picture itself, and that's another thing that really needs to be addressed moving forward, is how, like, trying to get these people away from you. Because imagine you just wake up every day, you post a message, and the only thing you see when you write something serious is nothing but jokes left and right, and dark humor jokes. And then even on his Reddit, I think like his subreddit he has, there are like there are images that they upload there too that also get uploaded to Twitter as well. Mm-hmm. And it's nothing more but just pure dark humor. Like there was something about like they edited something regarding Reggie's tweet and made it look like as if they're saying to, Etica needs to go or something like that. Like that sort of shit needs to stop.
I think one of the things. You wanna go, Tyrone?
Yeah, I was gonna say, just relating to what KG said, because it actually not just relates to the world of the internet. It also relates even in real life, where I've seen this happen in celebrity life, where I think the famous comedian Dave Chappelle, he said one of the reasons that he quit was because of something similar to that, where he could never he wanted his life back, where every time he would come up in a regular societal situation, people would just be hitting him with Rick James bitch, and he lost his chance to live just a normal life. So when you do content for others, obviously, the way your content is going to be entertaining, the things that you deliver is going to be entertaining, but you got to remember that at the end of the day, no matter if you're a YouTube star with like tons of subscribers or you're a celebrity, at the end of the day, they're still people. These are still people. These are still living, breathing human beings just like you and me. They put on their shoes 1 foot at a time. They're not any different than us in terms of who they are as a person. They want their lives to still be stabilized. And it's very hard to have a stable life when, unfortunately, all you're known for is just, what the jokes or your gimmick, or there's a person outside of that. And I think the moment you introduce yourself to that person, when you see these people, when you see these celebrities, that helps you gain a more supportive system towards them. It shows that, hey, we respect you. Because I like, for the content that we do, I would love to be praised for the stuff that I do, but I also would not appreciate people only like conversating with me about those particular topics. I want to be able to talk about other things. I want to be able to be a human being still. So when Etica, or like anybody, when Etica is constantly being referred to by memes, when he's constantly only known for his jokes or his reaction faces, that's gonna get to somebody. It makes you feel a different level of useless. Not that you can't provide content, not that you can't be funny, not that you can't, entertain. It starts to become it becomes from you making jokes to you are the joke.
Well, and honestly, it kind of leads into the main crux of that, which is the fact that as an entertainer, you run the risk of dehumanizing yourself. Where you become I think honestly, it was something that I started believing just looking at, if you went back and look at some of Etica's older videos before he got like famous off of the Smash Brothers reaction videos, it's almost like a completely different person. Part of me thinks that like some people create alter egos when they get online, and they use that as the way. But the problem is that if you don't draw like a line in the sand and make sure that people know there's a difference between, in this example, between Etica and Desmond,
you are not your character.
Yeah, and the problem is that I don't think Etica ever made that line to begin with. I think part of me thinks that Etica is just. Part of me thinks that Etica is like an exaggerated version of himself, which I think, because I actually watched. He uploaded a video that got taken down by YouTube because it's essentially like a suicide note in the form of a video. But he like mentions, even in some
YouTube's a bunch of hypocrites
even on Twitter, he was mentioning about killing Etica. And the reason why he said it, because Etica is not him. Etica is a part of him. And I think what his suicide really came down to was the fact that he couldn't separate himself from Etica. Or when he tried to do it, he felt like he wasn't willing to live the world without Etica. Like, and that's kind of what.
He got too encompassed in what.
It becomes two different levels of fear. It becomes one, the fear that your character has consumed your personality. Yes. You are that character, and then the other side of the scale, it becomes, if you get rid of that character, if you put that character up, then what are you? Then what are you? You lose everything that made you famous in the first place.
Especially if it's the character that made you famous, like.
Right, so that's why we as a community, we as a fandom, we as an audience need to support not just the character, but support the person. I think is the biggest message we got here.
I guess the problem always came in that situation is when you're a person who gets, I don't know, like 10,000 tweets a day or 20,000 tweets a day.
It's
at
overwhelming.
A certain point, you start, not only as the fan devaluing the entertainer is devaluing the fan. Because there's seas of them. There's people constantly switching out in the place of the old people. So like the connection that some of the smaller YouTubers can have with their smaller fan bases, you can't possibly have with like hundreds of thousands of fans. So even if your fans are sitting there being supportive, you kind of disconnect from it because you're like, well, they're just saying, like, you don't look at them as people. You look at them as icons on a phone or on a desktop.
I think I remember seeing some psychology report or something, or some sort of psychology study saying that the human brain can only process about 150 friends. And
that is right. I think I've heard that too, actually.
Yeah,
that's news to me.
Yeah, and to think, I'll give you guys an example.
Ah, shit! I can only make one more friend. I'm just kidding.
But I was gonna say, especially when you have social media and you have a post lighting up like a Christmas tree, the notifications can be, horrific. I mean, like I said, the post that I did about a week and a half ago, it got freaking almost 9,500 likes, and that was like, getting tons of notification spam. And imagine having to deal with that every day.
To the point where you don't even want to see it. You turn your phone off of vibrate.
Yeah, and you turn the notifications off because it's just too much, and you're getting constantly hounded, and that is one of the reasons why people can fall into slip into like depression and then suicidal thoughts. That's one of the reasons why.
I think then in that case, though, one of the things that I know needs to be done is not just with Etica, just people in general, to prevent this obviously from happening in the future, is like you said, a support system. I say take a minute to talk with someone, and I'm not talking about the fans, the community. Take a minute to
friends
just talk
and family.
The
people who actually know you.
Yeah,
know you as the real person, not an online
Richie
persona.
hit it right on the head. Talk to a family or friend, and now that doesn't mean obviously the people in the community can't be that, but you got to know like the ones that know you, not just know you for what you did, know you for who you are.
And I think that might have been part of the issue with Etica, that although Etica has friends, and a lot of them are big YouTubers, like I know he was cool with Omni and Shofu and some of the PokeTubers and like a lot of the Smash YouTubers, like those are people you met after you were Etica and you got famous.
Yeah.
So like, how I've heard this term a lot from people who tend to commit suicide. They always go, "You think you understand what I'm going through? You don't even know me." And they'll say that, and some people will be like, "Well, you mean I know you?" Well, what they're really referring to is you only know the version of me that I displayed in front of you the majority of our interactions
that I presented.
Yeah, you don't know the me because I never showed it to you. So how do you know me? And I think that might have been part of the issue, that like Etica never showed anybody like the full him,
the real side of him.
So he didn't. So in his mind, he didn't feel like he had anyone he could truly turn to. Because you can hear from those other YouTubers, they all reached out to him, and he ended up blocking some of them on Twitter. I remember, what was it? Sky Williams got blocked. Like a few of his friends he blocked on Twitter. And you're like, why? They're just trying to help you. Well, because in Etica's mind, y'all weren't really friends. You were friends with Etica. You weren't friends with Desmond.
Right.
It's like that dissociative disorder. But go ahead.
And that again puts it out there where you need to have a group of people that know exactly what your personal what you are as a real person and not as an online persona, because that's one of the biggest things. I'll admit, I've gone off on a lot of these podcasts on people and I like to freaking snarky jokes and like raising my voice and stuff. I mean, I could possibly say, I mean, for me, that me online is an exaggerated version of myself in real life. But the difference is I know how to separate both sides. A lot of people, they don't know how to draw the line of separation between you as a real person and you as an online persona. And then when those two meet and they cannot be separated, that is when all of the troubles start. So
I think one of the things too is, because I know a lot of people who are watching this are going to say, well, we're very dedicated fans or we're very dedicated audience members. Does that mean we need to stop does that mean we need to stop viewing the character? No, still support the character, still support the person that's being presented, still support the work that's being done, and as the content that's being created. It's the reason that the content creators create the content. But I think what the best thing you can do is still just when you support somebody in the comments, or when you support somebody, support them as a human being. Don't support them. Yeah, don't like. If you met your favorite celebrity, like one of the things that I feel like you could do to help that person is try to get to know them. Don't try to get to know everything that their character. Don't try to the minute you see your famous singer, try to sing their songs with them or something, or ask them to tell a joke the minute you see a favorite comedian. Try to just ask them how they're doing, or just say, hey, I really look up to you. Don't say the things that are so abstract.
I want to add on that.
Go ahead,
I want to just add on that for a second, Tyrone. My mother, I'm gonna make this clear now. My mother was a bartender downtown for like 20-something years, and she has met like David Letterman, Will Smith, all those other people, Madonna while she was filming Desperately Seeking Susan in 1981, and she has always told me the same thing. She doesn't care how famous you are, you're just a normal person.
Exactly.
And even myself, I've met freaking Eric Stewart and Stuart Zagman, and I enjoy their work. But I know them. They know me by name. I want to know the person, not just an anime character or something like that. I want to know the real person. When I want to know somebody in real life, I want to know who they are as a person, not just based off of the stuff they've done. And that, and if you don't, and the other problem is a lot of people, they get starstruck and they get over enthusiastic and they go, oh, jumping and all that stuff. Just take a few seconds and think.
It's like asking the angry video game nerd to be the angry video game nerd, even when he's not.
It's like asking James Rolfe to freaking do, say, oh, fuck tits bullshit. I don't want that. Yeah. I want to know. No. I want to know James is James.
But I guess the other side of that coin is that for those who are in those positions, for those who are like the guys with like hundreds of thousands of subscribers or like well-known actors, they also have to be in the position, be willing to trust in the individual. Because think about it. These are the kind of people who are constantly surrounded by people who do wear masks and do present their fake selves to them. Mm-hmm. And so it's like, for someone in that light, how do you know who you can trust when you have the most to lose and everyone has the most to gain? And the thing is, don't ever lose that willingness to open yourself up to someone. The problem is that they have to be very, very careful about who they do it to, and it creates a very strained,
I was gonna say, it's just that level of perception at that point.
It's just strained. It becomes a very strained relationship with you and other people because you don't know if you can trust them.
Right, and at that point, and in terms of like, I know if we're talking mental illnesses too, on top of all of that, because obviously he had those on top of all of the fame that he got too, so obviously that bogged down on him. The thing I can say about mental illnesses is just like what we said with celebrities. Just because there's something that may be hindering you, or maybe you have a disability or anything, that does not make you any less of a person than anyone out here. Period. You are a person. If you have a disorder, if you're blind, if you're deaf, mute, whatever, if you have any mental disorders,
if you're on the spectrum, you're a person.
You are no less of a person than anyone that's here today.
Yes.
Always remember that.
Genetically, no matter what the disability, you are a person. We are all equal people.
Yeah.
I can actually relate to that. Very hard.
Yeah, you are exactly. You are on this planet just like all of us. You have you have just as much access to the things that others should and do have, and that doesn't make you any less for that. So when it comes down to that, when it comes down to mental health and mental disorders and everything. The best you can do for that person is just be there. You don't have to treat them as if, oh, let me do this for you, let me do this for you, because you can't. No, that degrades a person. What you can do, though, what you can do is just be there. Just support them and treat them as if you would treat everybody else. It's just like with any type of segregation. Everybody, like, and yesterday, Polly came on the PokePod, and we didn't all just stop and change our entire personas because she's a girl. No, she's just like every person that's in the PokePod today. That's exactly how you're supposed to treat somebody, is equal as a human being.
Yes.
Yeah, like, so if someone comes in and they have a disorder, if they have a stuttering problem, if they have, like, TSS, I know you said that sometimes you'll mix words because your brain is faster than your mouth.
Yes.
We still let you say what you have to say, and we know what you're trying to get to, and we respect and we mind our P's and Q's. We will do not. The worst thing you can do is parody that. Like KG said earlier in the conversation, the worst thing you can do is meme that. It's funny as a joke for things, but at that point it becomes personal, and it's a long time.
I want to make just one real statement. When you have people on the world stage that are making fun of disabled people or people of what they would consider lesser beings, that is a disgrace to our society. I'm not going to name any names, but you know who the people are.
I do.
Go ahead, Terrell.
And it should
Go
stop.
ahead,
I do want to address, because there has been some rage. Some people have been aggravated because they feel like people out here. Pretty much, it was like for all those people, because a lot of people thought he was bullshitting. A lot of people thought, "Oh, this is Etica pulling another one of his stunts," because he already had a history of being known for doing trolly, edgy shit, which is kind of part of the problem. Because if you're known for that stuff, it's like the little boy who cried wolf. But
cried wolf.
But the main thing I wanted to hit, though, real quick, was that you have the people who are mad at those people who thought he was bullshitting, and said, for all those people who sat there and thought that Etica was faking it, and you were out there posting jokes or memes, fuck you. And people need to understand something. With that, when you say that to someone, especially because a lot of Etica's fan base was probably younger kids, like people in their teens and shit.
Yeah, probably.
That is also devastating in its own right, because you have think about it. If you're a 15-year-old who thought he was bullshitting, and then you come online, and then the next day find out, oh, he's dead. And then on top of that, you're thinking, well, I didn't really help, and I could have done something. That's a lot of trauma. And then on top of that, to have one of his friends come online and be like, fuck you. And they're like, damn, so now, and to be fair,
and teenagers already go through a lot of emotional.
Yeah, a lot of angst. A lot of angst.
It's a delicate situation, and I understand people are right now, it's, it just happened. People are just
it's a shock factor. It's a shock factor.
But the problem is that, like, I feel like on the other side of that coin, you can cause just as much damage out of your anger by slamming on these kids who don't really know any better, because they maybe they don't have that kind of life experience. But at the same time, it's like, you posting the memes didn't help either. So it's like, it's a hard situation, but I feel like some people need to give the kids a break, because some of them just didn't know. I mean, realistically, it's literally saying you have a 50-50 shot. Either I was right or I was wrong. I happened to be wrong, and now a man is dead. Shit.
I mean, to be fair, we are all adults, and what we should do is we should set a good example to these kids who don't know better. They don't have the social experience, and we should actually help them out and teach them. Listen, please don't be like this guy. Please get help if you're having any problems with cyberbullying or people bothering you. Just get help. That's it.
Awesome.
And the problem is we have adults who act like freaking children, and they don't know they don't know better.
My family shit.
And that's what it is. And I think what happens is a lot of people would just look at this and say, okay, it's like, we're gonna mourn, but then they don't do anything about it, and they don't take that experience and they pass it on to other people and say, hey, don't do this. Hey, this is an example. Don't do what he did. Get help.
But
that's the biggest problem.
I think it's important because, and I guess we should touch on the suicide part of it, because I mean,
Yes.
obviously we've been talking about what builds into it and what feeds into it, but the suicide itself, everybody copes with life in various different ways. A lot of people use religion. Some people have a very strong support system, whether it's your friends or family. And people who commit suicide don't give a fuck about any of that to a degree, because you wouldn't even be sitting there with the gun in your head or with the pills in your hand or whatever method you were going for if that was enough. And I think part of the reason is because there's like you have all the standard lines that everyone hears that, you know, things are gonna get better if you keep trucking it out.
It doesn't work like that.
And for me, I've always been kind of a realist. I feel like if you want to live, you need to come up with you need to find the reason you want to live. I can't give you one. And I'm also not going to sit here and lie to you, because there are chances that some people's lives don't get better. There are people in history who had terrible fucking lives, and that's literally all they lived. Some people died and didn't accomplish a goddamn thing. That is the possibility you live. And everyone has a different reason for why they live. For mine is actually insanely simple. Death will get me regardless of what I do next. So why rush into something that's going to happen anyway?
Well,
I've always been of the mindset that the life has the potential to be very enjoyable and very interesting. And if death is going to get me regardless of what I do, I'd rather at least enjoy the time I do have versus not. But see, even that isn't enough for people. But like I said, the person themselves need to find their reason. Don't just buy into the Jesus will save you or the eternal damnation fear, because that's what I think part of that. The reason why suicides happen is because they're taught a bunch of bullshit as kids, and they run with it, and then it doesn't hold up when reality hits. If
I were to give really my personal experience on that, in the last, I'll put this into perspective. In the last like 6 years, I've gone through lymphoma cancer treatment and gallbladder failure, and I almost died twice. Okay, when I got in remission like 5 years ago, that gave me a new reason to live. I cherish every day that I'm living, because if I would have done nothing, I probably would have been dead about 4 years ago. And sometimes it takes a huge incident in your life to really appreciate what life is. So thinking about, for the people that are thinking about taking their own lives, think about how much you can accomplish in your own life if you had the chance. And the thing is, though, I live by the statement, life is always under construction. So life doesn't have an end. You can always construct it to make it better. You have to do it. People around you aren't going to change your life. You're the only person that you can change your own life. You got to make your own decisions.
Right.
And if you need somebody, like I've had instances where I would be in full anxiety mode, but at least I have that one best friend that I can go on and I can talk for 7 or 8 hours, and that will bring me down. And that's what the kind of people that you need. You need people that can sit down and talk with you for hours on end to realize the situation that you're in, and then you can take that experience and say, okay, all right, this is what I have to do. Everything's going to be okay. And then you pick up the pieces and you move along.
I can't, as a person, speak for anyone's perspective on why or why not they should live. Everyone's always going to have their reason as to what keeps them going, what wakes them up every day in the morning, and why they do what they do. And sometimes depression, as unfortunate as it is, can be far more powerful than anything that we can say and or do to stop them from going down that unfortunate road of killing themselves. But one thing that I've always stopped and tried to do towards not just the people who are going through depression, but towards myself and why I keep living and going on. Whenever you do anything, just anything, work, YouTube, fun, hobbies, anything, stop and maybe at the end of the day, just stop and think, who did I help today? Because obviously I can't do anything to stop someone from, doing what they want to do, but I can, to the very least, try to make their day a little better, try to brighten it, try to put in my work. And then that's the level of accomplishment that I feel that keeps me going. Because I feel like if I can give a hand, then someone will receive a hand, and then in turn give a hand, and then it just comes full circle.
I actually, real quick, because I feel like Richie and KG have been pretty.
Oh yeah, sorry Richie, sorry KG.
I feel like we've steamrolled a lot. I wanted to see if you guys had anything you want to contribute or not, because
Go ahead, Rich.
Me, especially when TSS and like me and Tyrone get going, it gets kind of nuts. So
yeah, sorry. Go ahead, Richie.
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't know. I think I just have simple analysis as far as the social media impact is concerned. And this is coming from someone who had, it was a long time ago, and I look back at it as, I don't really look at it as a trauma moment because I'm over it, but I do look at it as like a stepping stone as to what I did and what I learned from it. But basically, I just say social media is a double-edged sword. It's a term I've always used to describe something that on one hand could be like the greatest thing you can ever have and use, but at the same time it can also be your downfall. And social media is just that big of a beast. I don't think what we can do is craft our own message and then deliver that intention well, but at the same time we can't really control the growing beast of it. I just don't think we can. It's that big to the point where the only thing we can fix is ourselves. The Etica thing is very sad, which is why another group I'm in was really worried about it, and they're just like saying all day, if you have anything you want to talk to me about, let me know. I don't care if it's repetitive. I don't care if it's over silly situations. Like, let's say if there was something embarrassing I wanted to bring up to them as like a problem, like, oh, I stubbed my finger into like, let's say a very prickly wall, and it's kind of embarrassing. I know it's kind of a I know that's not much of a situation, but the point is that if you want to talk to someone about it, if you feel like it makes you feel good, then go ahead. Don't be afraid to speak up. If you feel like talking to someone will give you some relief, basically. And I think people are just kind of afraid to speak up sometimes because they're afraid there's assumptions already being made, and from there, they just keep it all in their heads, and then it ends up being bottled up, and then and I'll finish up here real quick. But once it comes out, it becomes a mess. So my message is this: if you need to talk to someone, talk to them. Talk to a friend. Talk to a family member. Talk to the people that know you best, and just be honest with them. Just always be honest. Don't hide anything. Just tell them everything that's going on, and just hope, hopefully whatever situation you're going through, you just stay strong and keep reminding yourself that there's people out there that care about you.
Talking is a great stress reliever. Like I said, I a lot of the times maybe I'll talk to people even while going in between like jobs for the day or whatever, or coming home. And sometimes I find myself doing that 4 or 5 times a week, because sometimes the stresses of work or anything or life just gets overwhelming, and it's nice to have somebody to just talk with and just have a distraction, and then that is enough to get to lower the stress levels, because the problem is people get like too much too much stress, and their stress level goes like skyrocket high, and then that's when sometimes the suicidal thoughts come by. You know, is it worth it? Is it worth the damage I'm doing to my mental state? And that's why you need to have people to talk with. And that's why it's important to have a group of folks, or even one or two people that you can trust, and say, you know, you could just empty your brain and, you know, make yourself feel better.
I agree.
KG, did you have anything?
To see the thing and the reasoning as to why I'm a quiet side this time around is just because the topic that obviously we're addressing right now is a very difficult thing to sort of do because you know it's touchy. It's you want to make sure you say the right thing and not get your message misconstrued or something like that. You know.
Mhm.
So the reason why I've been a lot silent is just because I wanted to figure out how to word these upcoming sentences a little properly. And the thing is, you know, and you guys nailed it really when it comes into just, you know, talking with people. Like, listen, it's, I know this is super difficult. It really is, especially in this day and age, but never be afraid to just put out your hand there and ask for help. Never be ashamed of doing that. Never feel like as if you are putting yourself down just because you're stretching your hand out and asking for help. If anything, that's like one of the most powerful things any person can do. It's one of the strongest things any person can do out there to ask for help, you know? And it's you know, I just want people to know that if you're in any of this situation at all, remember that there is help out there. There will always be help out there. And there are hotlines. I hope when this video gets uploaded, I believe Terrell, you're gonna upload it on your channel, correct?
Yeah,
Uh
I'll put the hotline link. I'll put the
yes,
hotline numbers
all
in the description.
yes,
Mhm.
please do. I wanted to ask because listen, if you do have any issue, the numbers are down there, respective region, you know, all that stuff. It's all gonna be there. It's never be ashamed to ask for help. Always, always go for it. And trust me, that thing can be a change for the better for you. You know, you are, depending on your age, you know, you might be too young or, you know, and all that. You just don't know what's going on in this world. And that's okay. You know, obviously there's still, I'm just saying that like you need to grow. You know, don't let this thing consume you. You have a beautiful life ahead of you. Don't end it now. Give
Mhm.
it a chance.
Yeah.
And maybe you'll actually see that sometimes things can have a bright ending to it all, but you know, it all depends on whether or not you will be willing to make the first step to get help.
And
So yeah.
if you're like Etica and you are a content creator and you feel like you're going through this depression when you create content, as a fan, as an audience member and as a fan, I think one of the best comments you can ever put, it's so simple, it's literally 2 words. But it could be obviously alternate versions of it, but it's 2 words, just good job. It may not seem like much at first. It may seem like a very small comment that may not make it that far. But I think with, and I'm just gonna say Terrell and KG. I know TSS Richie, you guys do Twitter, but I'm saying this because we do have the YouTube channels.
Yeah.
We do look at those, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
I mean, obviously,
it's.
if we get bombarded with comments, we're not going to be able to see them all immediately. But I think we do take them into account.
I would say you gotta, for those who are on the other side of the coin who are just watching the videos and just being entertained, you don't realize how much a well-timed comment can like fix a
Lighten
person's
someone's
day.
day.
And it's weird because that shit can become a chain reaction where you brighten someone else's day. So when they're going about their day, they're coming about it in a very positive manner, which can inadvertently brighten someone else's day. You'd be surprised. There's a reason why they say that one small action can change thousands of lives, because that's literally what it is. The problem is that a lot of people are the type of people who need to see that change, and that's not how that works. Sometimes you will never know the effect you've had on a person, or you
And
want,
if you
or
don't,
and that's fine. You don't need to know,
right?
but knowing that the potential is always there when you come at things correctly with that positivity it means a lot in spades. Like the potential it has. But go ahead.
And if there's a video with a content creator and the video is not that great to you or is bad, you have two options. One, not watch the video, obviously. Stop watching it or don't leave a comment at all. Two, you can criticize. No one's ever said you can't, but do it in a way that's more constructive rather than harping.
Yes.
Don't say this video fucking sucks. This is terrible. Why'd you even make? No, just be like, hey, this video, good idea, but I feel like it needs here and there. Or maybe if you do this video again in the future, try doing this, and this.
Yeah, say like quick tip, by the way. You know,
Yeah, quick tip, by the way.
Content creator to another content creator. Kind of
I
thing.
like the idea here. Just make sure you do this next time. It's the you, like Terrell just said, one thing can make a difference. That happened. That's the reverse too. It has two. This coin has two sides.
Hey, yeah, but I think of I think of Joker's line that it only takes one bad day.
Yeah, all it takes. Somebody could be. You gotta respect somebody who's probably going through all types of work and stress and all of that, and they still sit down and make a video. And then the last thing they need to see is this video fucking sucks. Kill yourself. Or this video's terrible. Why'd you make this trash? That could be the thing. That could just be it.
Yeah, some people it doesn't take a lot. Like some people, it's like shit could have been building on for years or decades, and it only takes that one little thing that, in the context of that situation, it's like, why did he flip out? Why did he kill a bunch of people just because the car got in front of him? Like in retrospect, it doesn't seem like it's worth it, and then you realize, well, because the shit's been building for years.
Well, it's not only that. It's because people have different levels of mental tolerance.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, so
The problem is there's no way to tell.
You won't know until it's too late.
So when you're making your comments or when you're making your videos in response to something or a reply to someone, just stop and think about someone else's content. Just stop and think for a second. Why are they even making this to begin with? Some people are making these videos because these videos or content are the only thing they have to escape from the actual world.
Yes.
That's doing the damage to them. This is their escape. And if you hurt them while they're in their escape, obviously that's going to cause a whole new level of problems.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I agree.
So just make sure you're very aware of when you look at content on the internet, because the internet's dangerous.
And also, please, folks, think like 5 seconds before you post. Think about everything. Think about everything that's going to happen.
Exactly.
Have the foresight to think. If I make this post,
think before you say.
What's going to happen? And that's the thing. That's the problem on Facebook, Twitter, any sort of SNS, any sort of social media. Because once that post goes out, you sometimes feel instant regret. And the people that would take 5 seconds to just think about how much damage this could cause, I think it'll make a better world.
When you write a comment, before you click send, ask yourself, if I made a video, would I want someone to send this to me?
Golden rule.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, that TSS kind of hopped on it and complimented what I said, so I'm done.
Never forget the golden rule.
Do we have anything else before we kind of close it out?
No. I just think that this situation is just, as you mentioned at the very beginning, I hope this is something that people really take into consideration when, whenever they start feeling like they're approaching something like that, and they need to know that help is there. Help is going to be accessible for you, whether you're friends, folks over at the hotlines, there is help for you. Please never be afraid to go out there and ask for help.
Yeah.
Don't think of it as something weak. Don't think of it as as if you're making yourself look like,
Mm-hmm.
In fact, you're making yourself look like a very strong and mature person when you do so.
In fact,
Right.
yeah, standing up and being able to admit something
The
is
way
one of the most hardest and strongest things one
You can do
person
in your
can
life.
do.
I agree.
I have a
Yeah.
I have a
Please go
simple
ahead.
way of wrapping this up.
Go right ahead, buddy.
Be willing
Yeah.
to give a hand, and be willing to offer your hand.
Yes,
Yeah.
Yep.
for sure.
Yep.
But on that note, thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for listening. Hope you took something out of it. Hope it creates some interesting discussion. Progress can be made. It just takes a while. And even with my cynical ass nature, I don't mind being proven wrong when it comes to the power of good people. You know, it just takes longer because a lot of people are assholes. But that's besides the point.
Yeah.
Death will come for us all, but let's try to enjoy the time we're given and not
Please.
cut it off prematurely by other things besides like medical
Life
issues.
is
and
life is
natural
worth
disasters.
life is worth living. Okay, folks. Life is worth living, and remember that they're all.
Find your place in it.
Yes.
Find your place in it. And with that being said, life's a game, play to win, which is also a very deep-rooted thing, but I won't get into it now. But life's a game, play to win, and I will catch you guys later. Peace.
Remember, you are the only one that can help yourself.